welcome to another Tech Tuesday. I'm Jeff Garrell with Convergent Technologies Group, and with me today, I've got Brandon Samuel and Jeff Joyner. Our topic is the RAP, the Remote Access Point, which is finally, after the past couple of weeks of having things named really oddly by marketing departments, it looks like the technicians named this one because it is what it is. It's a remote access point. We'll talk to Jeff here, who is our expert on the rap. I won't make any jokes about him being a rapper. So here we go. Jeff, tell us all about the rap, what it can do, why it's full of awesomeness.
Yeah. So the remote access point, or RAP, is it can be an instant AP, which is the new OS for all of the actually the last generation, and then all of the newer generations of APs from Aruba are all in a unified code, in which case they can be campus APs, instant APs, or remote APs. And a remote AP, what makes it special is that you can authenticate or connect to wireless, or if you're using the correct AP, if you have wired ports, you can connect wired connections as well, and it can connect you back into whatever networks are configured via the controller at the headquarters, or whatever site you're connecting into. It could be a colo. The remote AP has they're set up a GRE tunnel. I'm sorry, not GRE tunnel, an IPsec tunnel back to the controller at wherever the termination is, so that all that traffic across the internet is encrypted. So there's some security, or there is security there in between those two connections. The solution does require a controller to be used. It can be a hardware-based controller, in which case there are different sizes depending on how many wraps you want to terminate on the controller. Or you can use a virtual controller, which can be in some type of hypervisor. The APs, all the APs can become wraps, and they can all do wireless, but the 303s, and then soon to be the I think the 505s, they also have wired connections. So you can actually provision or configure on the controller how those wired connections, or what networks those wired connections have access to back into your termination and your corporate colo. And those connections, it's almost like you're bridging that network. That network is, it's like you're sitting there in your corporate office. You can have wired or wireless. There's different types of authentication methods, and you can even do on the wired, on the 303s and the 505s, with the wired ports, you have a PoE port. So that PoE port, if the wrap is, if it's powered up with an external power adapter, or if it has, I think it's 30 watts of PoE power into the pass-through port, which is when it's going to connect it back into the back to the internet. If it's providing PoE at least 30 watts, then you can actually power a phone or some type of other PoE enabled devices. One port on the wrap or on those 303s and 505s that has the ability to do PoE.
Nice. So this is basically a layer 2 connection back into your network.
Yes. Yes.
So that's one of the differences between a VPN and a client VPN. versus the wrap is you're actually getting DHCP straight from the same server you would as if you were inside the same network, your
Yes.
corporate network, right?
Mhm.
And so that
Yeah.
means all those other rules apply,
Yes.
right?
And just to be clear, that encryption takes place between the AP or the wrap that's in the remote site and the controller back at the corporate or colo end. But if you think about it like this, wireless generally has some type of authentication. Unless it's an open network, you may have, a pre-shared key, or you could have some type of, radius 802.1x authentication. And you absolutely can do that with this. But with the wired connections, think of this just like it's almost like thinking that this is you put a long patch cable from your corporate end into this home, and you've plugged the switch in. So there needs to be some thought on the configuration side about authenticating the wired connections as well, because at that point, if there is no wired authentication, it's the same as plugging, and you have that one of your corporate VLANs connected or configured on a port or several ports on the wrap. That becomes an extension of your network. So one of your
So
children, your spouse, a friend that's come over to watch a game, if we're still allowed to do something like that, they can plug right into that switch, and they're now on your corporate network. So in addition to, most everybody thinks about wireless authentication. You want to make sure that you're not just jumping onto or allowed onto a corporate network. But if you're going to use the wired portion of this, you also need to take some consideration into configuring that 802.1x wired authentication as well.
So something like a ClearPass
Yes.
for onboarding devices and making sure they've got certificates and they're known, and that kind of thing secures that network.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, ClearPass does a great job with that. In fact,
Better than anybody else.
Yeah, I mean it's
not that I'm biased.
I know that I'm not crazy about the saying that something is on steroids or whatever, but it is a radius server on steroids. It really is. I mean, it's a radius server with the configurability of a firewall. You can get that granular with how you want things. So it's not to go too much into the ClearPass side of things, but yeah, it does a great job for not only just the wireless but also wired.
I don't know if you got into it or not, but are there any big differences between using a wrap as a wrap versus using an actual access point as a wrap that need to be considered?
Well, I guess in the name, remote access point it more defines the function, not the hardware. So the fact that you've configured this device as a remote access point or a wrap, then you have to look at the hardware. So, like I said in at the beginning, that any AP now can become a wrap. Then
and real quick, when you say any, you mean any Aruba AP?
Any Aruba
AP, part of the unified platform, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So those APs can serve as remote access points. Any of those. The difference is whether or not you want to just serve up wireless, or if you also want to have a wired component, because that's kind of where this solution adds additional differentiation. Is that where with a typical VPN connection, you have some kind of client software that works on or runs on your laptop or potentially workstation, depending on what device you have. And there's problems where if you have to have you may have conflicts with the VPN software they're running. If you may have multiple VPN connections with different vendors, that those software the software versions or they can sometimes fight and not get along so well. But the other thing is that you have to have that software installed on that device, whereas with the remote access point, whether it's connecting wired or wirelessly, I mean, even a wireless connection, it's if it's configured like your Wi-Fi in the office, you plug it in at home. Once it boots up and it starts advertising that SSID or multiple SSIDs, depending on how it's configured, your device is going to connect to it just like you're in the office. So it's seamless. I mean, had a coworker here last week to assist with something, and he flipped his laptop open and powered up, and he said, "Hey, I'm on the corporate network. I didn't even do anything." I said, "Yeah, that's how it's designed. That's how it's supposed to be done."
So how much work is done on the front end of that then to make it that easy? Is it a fairly involved process to get it configured that way, or not so much?
It kind of the setup of the wrap is not overly difficult. You probably want to have someone like myself that can come in and help you configure that.
For sure.
But it can get a lot more complex. It depends on what you want to do with it, how much what type of authentication you want to use. That you add that the complexity in the configuration at least, but that complexity adds levels of security. So it's sort of like buying a wireless device off the shelf and expecting it to do as good as something that you're going to spend more time with, configuring it for a greater level of security. And it's just there's definitely there's a cost with that, but if you want it to make it secure, it's necessary.
I was going to say is the biggest chunk of complexity really the back end authentication and authorization stuff compared to dropping in the mobility controller, doing a configuration, and then starting to deploy APs. If you already have that authentication and authorization side, like with ClearPass, already built out, then it would seem, and you've already got everybody onboarded to it, then the next steps are relatively simple compared to that particular kind of deployment. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. It's one of the beauties of the Aruba system is that you can when you configure this, you set things up as profiles, and those profiles can be put into different configurations as well. It's sort of there's roles that you can give in users as to what kind of access they want, and those roles can span different configurations within that same environment. So yeah, those profiles absolutely can be reused.
Nice. And to that degree, you could say who's not allowed to, right? You could say these right. to this wrap, or only Vice President X can connect. Yes, or
yes. Or wired and wirelessly. You can have various levels of access, and then, like you said, you can also, which is great if you are you're basically taking your network, your corporate network, and you're placing it in someone's house or into whatever remote type or whatever remote site you're gonna, it's gonna be set up. You're extending your network out there,
mm-hmm.
And I would think most network administrators would not want just anybody to connect. And I mean, and it's not to say that that end users would necessarily try to do something, try to do something bad with the network. They just, a lot of times they don't understand the dangers of plugging in, a network connection and having that network connection sit back in your
Right.
in your corporate location.
So with the combination of the mobility controller, the wrap, and authenticated devices, this is significantly more secure than, say, your laptop sitting on your home network doing a client VPN, because it's still sitting on your home network, right? Kids download some bootleg whatever, and next thing you know, the house is run rampant with malware.
Yes. Yeah. Well,
So
you can, I guess it depends on how you have that client connection set up. If you're tunneling all traffic, because that's really the best, and Aruba's recommended way to set this up. There's 3 separate modes that you can configure connections. There's tunnel mode, bridge mode, and split tunnel. And tunnel mode is obviously the most secure, and you have much more control from a network standpoint. If you're tunneling all that traffic back into the corporate location, not only are are you giving access to the resources on the back end, but even your internet connection at that point in time is tunneled back over, so you can apply web policies to someone's home. As long as they're on your corporate network, you have the right, or I shouldn't say the right, you have the ability to monitor that.
So if you say there's 3 options, why? But that's the most secure and best one. Why would anyone choose to go with one of the other 2 options?
Flexibility. Split tunnel gives you the ability to, you're only sending networks back to corporate that, or actually, I'm sorry. Yes, your internet access goes back to, or is terminated at your local site, and then all your corporate assets or corporate networks are tunneled back. With bridge mode, you actually you can connect your which tunnel mode is not, or I'm sorry, split tunnel is not frowned upon as much as bridge mode. Bridge mode actually allows you to sit on the corporate network as well as on your local home network. Now, why would you do something like that? Well, if you have a printer, if you want your remote users, remote workers to use their own resources at home, like a home printer, and that printer is on their home network, but that's not recommended, because at that point now the networks are kind of commingling, and that's not the best.
Not as safe as it should be.
Yes.
And then split tunnel is generally faster for direct internet access versus going all the way to the corporate requesting the data, or getting it back, coming all the way back across that line again.
Right. It really is in effect just like you're in the office with tunnel mode, where all the traffic is sent back, sent back to the corporate network. It's just like you're sitting in the office. So if you're in the office, it's going through the office internet connection. That's exactly the way it works.
So you got a 303 there handy, possibly?
I do. Let me see here.
So I think everyone knows what a AP kind of looks like. It's either square, round, and kind of flattish.
All right. Sorry about that.
A little different.
I actually had it powered up. So this is the 303. This is actually the 303 HR. The R is what is the SKU that gives you this little handy dandy kickstand here that makes it nice to sit, on a flat surface. But and I'll pop this off right now because I have the screws disconnected. This actually looks like this. You could also, this same model, you can have in a I'm not sure what the name of the how many gangs or whatever, but you can actually set this up in
To dual
in a
gang.
wall. Yeah, dual gang. Okay. But so that, yeah, this can plug into the wall and just and look just like that, sitting sitting or hanging on the wall. But as you can see at the bottom, so yeah, here you go.
Yep.
So this is the pass-through port, which is the one you're going to plug into for your internet connection, as well as this could provide PoE. This is where you bring in PoE power across that connection if you had that, which is, and this is just a bridge for that port. You have two additional wire ports here that can be used for whatever type of connectivity, or wire connections. And then this red port here, the farthest one out, is the PoE port. This one can provide PoE. In fact, it was providing PoE to my Polycom here just a few minutes ago. We had a connection here for an external power adapter. And most people don't. Since I have all this network gear sitting on the other side of the monitors here, I have a PoE connection for this. But you can, you can get the adapter as well for this unit, and it also comes with a USB port. And this USB port can be used with a cellular dongle. To provide backup in case your internet connection goes down. So if you need to have some type of redundancy at the remote site, you can, and your regular wired internet connections coming in here, you could also have cellular service as a backup. It depends on how much survivability you want for that remote site. And of course, there's also redundancy you can build in for the controller side. And I don't think I mentioned yet, but the firewall configuration for this is fairly simple. You're just allowing it's UDP 500 and 4500. Those are the two IKE ports, and then 69 is TFTP that you may need at some point, but that one's not as important, or I guess as necessary as the 4500 and 500 is what's used to have that encrypted connection and allows that that connectivity from the internet back into your controller.
Nice. And this is a perfect work from home solution. I mean, you could even, I was thinking about different ways this could be used. I mean, you're holding a conference and you have your little conference war room for, making sure things are going well and need to still be connected back to corporate, or, I mean, you literally drag this thing around, your little 303 there, or even a regular AP, pretty much anywhere.
Yeah, one really cool use case that I've seen for it is a law firm using it with their trial teams. Whenever their trial teams would go out on site to different cities, they would take the wrap with them and set it up in a random conference room. It was a secure way for them to get back into their network, and it functioned really well. It still functions really well. So that's one of the cooler ones that I've heard about and seen come to fruition.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you need to have remote connectivity, be it wired or wireless. Now, like I said, if you're doing wired, you need to have something like this. But if all you need is wireless, one of the other APs, one that you would normally hang from the ceiling, could also be a wrap.
Nice. Nice. Did we cover everything? Did we miss anything? Any questions? Any more questions?
You guys know me. I'm a sales guy. I'm tapped out.
All right. Well, thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you, everybody who's watching. I'm sure you're eagerly anticipating your chance to talk to us about wraps or pretty much anything else. So fire off those emails to sales@ctgva.com. Give us a call at 804-353-5307. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next week.
Have a great day.
Bye.